Welcome everyone to the linear regression session. In this part of the session, we will learn about linear regression, how to go about building a linear regression model in Python, and various concepts related to linear regression. First, we'll definitely start with the basic concepts, then we'll see simple linear regression, how we evaluate a simple linear regression using R squared, a model performance measure used often to evaluate regression model. From simple linear regression, we'll go to multiple linear regression. In a simple linear regression, we typically have only one independent variable. So basically y is equal to alpha plus beta 1 x. We predict the y based on x. In multiple linear regression, we have more than one predictor variables. So the equation becomes y equal to alpha plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2. You can have more than two or more than two variables. That is multiple linear regression. We will see the concept of adjusted R squared, multicollinearity, variance inflation factor, how we do variable transformation and what is the importance of variable transformation to improve a model. So there are many concepts that we have to cover, and finally we'll wrap up the entire linear regression modeling technique with what are the assumptions. I would not like to jump into the assumptions of linear regression, what is the scenario or in which you can apply a linear regression, because if I jump into that, the entire motivation to get into a linear regression will go down. So we'll see all of that once we have understood the linear regression model. This is my entire block series. Now, how do you reach to this block series? Probably you can quickly reach to the block series by saying k2analytics.co.in/blog, and here up front you will get the linear regression block series. When you click, the block series will open. In the block series, I have given the codes. So any link you go, as you go, I'm just navigating so that later on after the session, you may want to probably try it out yourself. As you go here, you will find various codes available. Okay, so that's how probably you can navigate. So coming back, we'll start off with the basic concepts. Let's start with a very basic example. Here I have given you input and there is output. Now, if you see the input and output, can you let me know what should be the value of 50? What should be the value for this question mark given input is 50? Yes, the answer is 30. You can quickly see the relation. If input is 10, my output is 6. If the input is 20, my output is 12. If input is 30, my output is 18. So basically the output is 0.6 multiplied by input. So we have been quickly able to get this output. Let's take another example. Input is 10, output is 8, input is 20, output is 14, input is 30, output 20, 40, 26. What will be the output for this missing value? Once again, we are able to quickly see the proportionality relationship between output and input. Output is 0.6 times input plus 2. So we have got an equation which is something like y is equal to alpha. In this case, alpha is a constant, that is 2, plus beta 1. Beta 1 is this, multiplied by x1. So if I have to write this in an equation format, this simple thing, which is a format of writing a linear regression, I can say y is equal to alpha plus beta 1 x1. Now here, what is y? Output is my y. What is alpha? The constant, which we call as intercept in linear regression. What is x1? The input. And what is beta 1? The slope, we call slope, and that value is 0.6. This is a very simple example. I'm just trying to explain first proportionality, and from proportionality, I'm trying to get into a linear regression. So here, once again, with a very simple example, we are able to understand that, yeah, okay, there's a linear relationship kind of a between input and output is 0.6 times input plus 2. Now let's move to a third example. Find the missing value for the question mark in this data which is given to you. Input and output is available. What should be the value of question mark? I would request you to solve and try to answer this question. Let me explain you how to go about solving this. So what I'll do is I'll copy these details in Excel. So here there's an input and there's output. We have the values 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 is not available. So I'll just put 50 here. I'll put a space. And we have got 8, 15, 18.5, 8, 15, 18.5, 26.5. Step 1, it's very important that we try to visualize this data. So I need a scatter plot. Insert a scatter plot. Okay, so I'll just take a scatter plot. I'll take this one. So here, when I take the scatter plot, I can quickly see that as my values, input values are 10, 20, 30, 40, it's increasing. The values, corresponding values are also increasing. I fit a trend line. Okay. And for now, I'm trying to get some equation also. That is actually a linear equation because the trend line which I have fitted is a linear equation. Try to understand the concept. The concept here is the input and output has got some proportionality relationship, and that proportionality relationship, assume it is a manufacturing company. You've got some manufacturing unit where you're producing certain chemicals. Now if you take a 10 tons of input, you get 8 ton of output. If you give 20 ton of input, you get 15 ton of output. Now it is not necessary that every time when you give 20 ton of input, you will always get 15 ton of output. Sometimes you may give 20 ton of input and you may get 15.2 tons of output. Sometimes you will give 30 tons of input and you will get 19 tons of output. Okay, because some pilferage and some losses are always there. But what it is trying to say you, there is a relationship, and that relationship is not exact. It's not perfect proportional relation. In the first two problem statements, the relation was an exact proportional relationship. However, always we don't have exact proportional relationship. In that scenario, we require something which is very approximate fit to the given data point. Now, if I have to get that fit, when there is a proportional kind of a relationship, but it is not exact proportional, then I require something which is a linear regression kind of a thing, which will be fitting the relation between my output and the input. And if I fit that, I get an equation. What this equation is saying, 0.59 times x plus 2.25. What is x here? Input is your x. Always remember, input is denoted by x, output is denoted by y. Okay, so in this equation, output is denoted by y. So it is saying 0.59 times x. So let us do 0.59 times x. What is x? 50 is x. Plus there is some constant. That constant we call in linear regression intercept. My value for 50 is 31.75. Let me just copy and paste as values. And let me expand this equation. So I'll now remove this because the equation otherwise will change. Let me expand the data points. The trend more or less remains same, right? And this line which we have actually fitted is actually a line of best fit. In linear regression, this line is called as line of best fit. We will cover all of these concepts in detail, don't worry. But at a very high level, in a very simple example, I am trying to explain the concept of linear regression when there is a proportionality relation between x and y, and that proportionality is not a 100% exact proportionality relation. We try to get that line of best fit using a technique. That technique is called linear regression. Just to help you connect the dots and help you understand this concept, if you go back to your school days, you will remember your school days working with graph paper. On a graph paper, on a XY axis, you typically, if this data would have been given to you on a XY axis, on a graph paper, you would have put 10, 8, 20, 15, 30, 60, 18.5, 40, 26.5, 50, and that question mark. And then you would have tried to fit a line which goes through very closely through most of these known data points. And on that graph paper, where you have 50 on the x-axis, you would then correspondingly see where is that line of best fit which you had drawn meets on the y-axis, and then you would have taken that value for the y. So that graph paper problem that we used to solve in school days is nothing but a linear regression problem that we solved. And this is exactly what we are going to learn in this part of the session. However, the challenge is we will use not just two columns. In school days, we had only y, x. The number of input variables will be many. The second challenge is the relationship may not be that straightforward. It may not be that simple as a straight line. The moment we plot it, we'll get a straight line. No, we will require doing trend fitting. One of the important points which I mentioned here as part of the entire session, we have to do variable transformation, because the data that we may not have exactly linear relationship. In that case, we have to do some variable transformation. So those concepts will make the topic slightly complicated, but the conceptual part is as simple as what we learned in the school days. In case you want to try out this in R, you can run this piece of code. In case you want to try it out in Python, you can run this piece of code. Let me just launch my RStudio and show the code execution. Similarly, then I will launch my Jupyter Notebook and show this piece of code. I'll simply copy these 4 lines of syntax, go to my RStudio, paste it here. Here I'm declaring a input variable. I'm declaring a output variable. The first 4 values are there, and I'm trying to fit a linear regression. The function in R is lm. I'm trying to fit a linear regression between output and input. I'm trying to predict output as a function of input, and then I will try to get my coefficients. So let's just execute, control enter, control enter, control enter, control enter, and you see the coefficients 2.25, 0.59. This is exactly what we got in Excel. If I just go back, control Z, control Z. Yeah, so this is exactly what we got in Excel. Let's just do the same thing in Python. The reason why I'm demonstrating this piece is, the point is, in this entire block series, you will find the R and Python codes. As you learn, you can copy paste codes in your Jupyter Notebook or in your RStudio and practice this linear regression with the data file which we'll be using as part of our entire session. So here I've got this Jupyter Notebook which is launched. I'm just copy pasting this entire thing. I'm using pandas, a stats model, input output to list I'm creating, and then converting it into a data frame. And here using stats model API, I'm running OLS. OLS stands for ordinary least square. Ordinary least square is the algorithm for linear regression, ordinary least squares. And finally, I'll show the parameters. Control enter. So this code is executing, and I'll finally get the parameters. Irrespective of whether you use RStudio or you use Excel or you use Python, the output remains same. Okay, so we have quickly got this small concept of linear regression. We now get into details of linear regression. Here we start off with the introduction to linear regression. First, with a very simple analogy of proportionality, I've tried to cover the basics. Having covered the basics, I now move into detail with this block series. So let's start with the concept. What is regression? A statistical process for estimating the relation between dependent variable and one or more independent variable. Dependent variable is typically denoted by y. Independent variables are typically denoted by x, and you may have one or more independent variable. As such, we refer the independent variables by x1, x2, x3, and so forth. Now, if you ask me what is dependent and independent variable, it is very important to understand these terms. Now, let us take a very simple example. You have some plants which you have grown in your home, some plants, pots, the pots you have kept in your balcony where you have got sunlight. Now, is the growth of plants related to sunlight? What I'm trying to say is the growth of plant dependent on sunlight, or is sunlight, quantity of light which the sun gives us, dependent on the growth of plant in your balcony? It is very clear the growth of plant is dependent on how good sunlight it receives, and not vice versa. Okay, so this is a very basic concept of dependent, independent. Let's take another example. Expense of a household. how much money a family spends on a monthly basis. The amount of money a family spends on a monthly basis depends upon how much the family is earning. So, monthly household expense of a family depends on the income level of the family. If the family is earning 10,000 rupees per month, they will have to live a lifestyle where they should be able to manage their expenses within that 10,000. At times, they may exceed. That is a different story. But what we are not talking of outliers. When we are talking about all of these things, we are not talking of outliers. We are always talking about what is a normal scenario. In a normal scenario, the family has to lead a lifestyle where they are able to manage the expenses within that 10,000. On the other hand, if a family earns 100,000, that is 1 lakh, in that case, they can live more lavishly and their expense will definitely be on the higher side as compared to the family which is only earning 10,000. So we can say monthly household expense is dependent on the income level of the household. Independent variable, the variable by which you can estimate the dependent variable is called as independent variable or the predictor variable or the explanatory variable. Once again, I repeat, the variable by which you can make an estimate or the variable by which you can predict the target phenomena, the output, is called independent variable. In the above example of income and expense, monthly income and expense of household, if I know the income level of a family, if I tell you there are 4 families, one family is having 10,000 as monthly income, another has got 25,000, third has got 50,000, and fourth has got 100,000. I ask you to give me an estimate of their expenses. What is their likely monthly expenses? For 10,000, you will give a number, any number which is 10,000 or less than 10,000. For a family having 25,000, you will give a number which is probably going to be more than 10,000 and less than equal to 25,000. For a family having 50,000 as a monthly income, you may give a number which is at least marginally or significantly above the family having 25,000, and definitely for 100,000 monthly income you will give a much higher figure compared to the rest three, which means the expense you are predicting based on the input given to you, which is income. But income you are not predicting based on expense. In this case, if I give you now having the both data points available, you can say, okay, can I do reverse regression? You can definitely do it, but theoretically, what is dependent, you have to understand. Expense is dependent and not income. Okay, so income is a independent variable in this example. I hope the concept of independent and dependent variable is clear, and we now move forward to linear regression. Linear regression is a machine learning technique where we try to find a linear relationship between our dependent variable with one or more independent variable. Independent variables are also called as explanatory variable because they are trying to explain the dependent phenomena. These terms will definitely get more and more clear as we proceed and solve a complete model development process. We will have two types of linear regression models that we are going to build. Simple linear regression, we will have only one explanatory variable. Multiple, we will have more than one explanatory variable. The mathematical form in which we represent a simple linear regression is y is equal to a plus bx plus e. You can also write this as, there are many forms in which the equation is written. Y is equal to alpha plus beta 1 x1 plus error. Error is not going to come as part of the model equation. If you see, when we solve this linear regression, the equation which you get, y equal to 0.59x plus 2.25, you will never get error as part of the equation. What that error in linear regression, this term is trying to say is, once I give you the intercept and the slope, based on that, if you make a prediction, for example, here I now compute the predicted y. If I compute the predicted y based on this equation of 0.59x plus 2.25, what should be the value for x equal to 10? The value should have been 0.59 times x plus the constant 2.25. This equation I can just copy below. Not for this, 50 is anyways predicted. So if I see these four values, okay, I'll just have a table grid formatting. The predicted y is not exactly the value which we got. There is some error, 8.15 minus 8. I'll copy paste this. For each of the predicted, for the known x, for each of the known x, when I apply the linear regression and get the predicted y, predicted output, and compare with the actual output, this y is your actual output. So I can now write the term actual also. If I compare the predicted y with the actual y, there is a difference, and that difference is error. However, please note that error is just a symbolic representation. The symbolic representation is to say that when we will get a linear regression and when you try to actually predict, there will be some error in your prediction which we will not be able to predict accurately. So we just ignore, we just random error, we keep that in the back of our mind. The predicted value will be a close approximation of what can be really expected, and the difference between my predicted and what is actually the value, that error is there, which the regression is not able to capture. The entire objective in the regression is, how do I minimize the error? If I just represent this a plus bx, the representation of a plus bx is actually, the predicted values are represented by y cap. This is my actual value. So here, if you can see, if a plus bx is y cap and I move that on the left hand side, y minus y cap is equal to error. And the regression equation, which the algorithm, the ordinary least square algorithm, which runs in the background, the regression is designed such that it tries to give you an equation which will minimize this error, okay, across all the data points, given all the data points which has been fed for building the equation. So this is what you should remember. Yeah. Okay. Before we move forward, let us once again practice this on Excel. So what I'll do is I'll delete all of this, and this part also delete. This is my actual data, and this 50 is actually question mark. So I just put a question mark for the time being. and this is my input and this is my output. So let me just make it output. Yeah. So what you have to do is, in Excel, you have to select the data. Once you have selected, insert. In insert, charts. In charts, scatter. I select the scatter. Now here, I select the dots. The one of the dots, I just, on that dot, I have pressed my mouse button. All the 4 dots get selected. I right click. I get this option and I say add trend line. In the trend line, by default, linear is selected. We need to keep linear. At bottom, there are check boxes: display equation, display R squared. R squared is a model performance measure. So it is telling how good is the equation fitting the data. For now, we are not going to discuss this. So what I can do is uncheck it, because at this point of time, my focus is on the equation. That's why I have unchecked it. Okay. And let me just increase the font size of this equation, so it gets displayed in slightly bigger font. Okay, so this is my equation. Now what is this 0.59? 0.59 is called as slope. And when I read the equation, I always say y equal to alpha plus beta 1 x1. Now this x is getting multiplied by a number 0.5, which is also called as beta. So the slope is 0.59, which we also call as beta. So either of the terminology is okay. The 2.25 is actually intercept. What do you mean by intercept? Intercept is what will be the value of y if x is 0. If x is 0, the value of y will be 2.25. Now, if you relate this problem to a manufacturing setup, then you will say, how come I have output when there is no input? Now, in such a scenario, we typically build a model which is called as zero intercept model. In a zero intercept model, the intercept is forced to become 0. Okay, this is one example. In manufacturing, if it is a relation between output and input, output is production output, input is how much raw material you're giving in. You cannot have a production output without having a raw material input. In that case, you may have to go with a zero intercept model. I'll explain that in Excel. For now, I'm just explaining format trend line as a concept. I'm explaining. Here you will have to say set intercept 0. The moment you do set intercept 0, your equation will become something like this: y equal to 0.665x. At this point of time, I don't want intercept to be 0. Let's take another example. Household expense, HH is household expense, is my y. Now there is a scenario: a family has got 4 members and no one is a earning member in the family at this point of time. For last 3-6 months, there is no one as a earning member. So household income is 0. Now household income is 0, which means the monthly household expense should be 0. No, not possible. You have to eat something. You will consume electricity. You will drink water. So expense has to happen irrespective of income. In that case, you cannot have a zero intercept model. You will definitely require intercept model, which, because expense is bound to be there irrespective of whether there is any income or not. Okay, so here I have explained the two important concepts. I have explained the intercept. There are certain scenarios we definitely have a baseline, so that baseline is considered as an intercept. Okay, And the scenarios where you require zero intercept, for example, manufacturing, where you're trying to express, where you're trying to predict production. Okay, I hope with this, those who are watching the videos, you are able to do this part of linear regression in Excel. In case you have not been able to do it, then you should pause, rewind, and see the video. Now I have to predict the value. The intercept is 2.25, y equal to alpha. Alpha is intercept plus beta 1. What is beta 1? This slope into x1. X1 is what? The corresponding value 50. So let me put that. So I can predict using the equation the values like this. Okay. I hope you are able to do it. Now let's get back to our linear regression block series, where I'm going to explain the concept of linear regression with a household survey data. Now let us try to understand the concept of linear regression, and to explain the concept, I am taking a sample survey data of household. The household survey data, what we have collected is the monthly income of the household and monthly expense. There are some additional fields also, like how many family members are there, how many earning members are there, whether they are staying in a rented apartment or their owned apartment. So we have taken certain more information, but from that survey, for now, I am discussing simple linear regression. And for simple linear regression, I am focusing on two columns. The columns are monthly household income and monthly household expense. A few records of the sample is shown here. The entire data can be downloaded from this link. So once you click on this link, you will be asked to log in, and on login, after login, you can download that data. Here, income is my independent variable, expense is my dependent variable. Whenever you are working on a linear regression, the first thing that you should always do, visually see the data. How do I visually represent data? Both the variables here are continuous variable. The most suited plot when we have two continuous variables, the plot should be a scatter plot. So we should create a scatter plot. Now when you create a scatter plot, which variable should be on the x-axis and which variable on the y-axis? Graphical representation may not change much, or your interpretation may not change much, but there is conventions. There are always conventions, and the convention is the x-axis is in this direction where I'm putting a small arrow mark, and the y-axis is in this direction. Why we use as a notation for dependent variable? So the dependent variable, when you are making a scatter plot, you should always have on the y-axis, and the independent variable you should always have on the x-axis. It's a convention, and we should always follow these best practices and the most followed convention by everyone. Okay, it also reflects your knowledge, that you are very clear on what is dependent and what is independent. Okay, and it also, in a longer term, if you follow the convention, it will improve your interpretation of the plots. So the first thing, whenever you get a data, make a scatter plot, and the way you should do is independent variable on x and dependent variable on the y-axis. Now if you see the scatter plot, it is very clear, as income is increasing, the corresponding dots, the blue colored dots, the are also on the moving on the higher side of the expense. So we can see that expense increases as income increases. The red line in this plot is actually line of best fit. Now I am going to explain the concept of line of best fit. What is line of best fit? A line of best fit is a straight line that fits the data on scatter plot or on the data such that it best establishes the relation between the dependent and independent. Now, what is the definition? That the line of best fit is giving me a best relationship between the dependent and the independent. If I just diagrammatically show the same chart, on this chart, if you see, I have made many lines in orange, green, red, purple, and if you ask me, I can make infinite lines on this chart. I can have infinite lines on this chart. All these new lines which I am adding in red lines, I can have many such infinite lines. The question is, of these infinite lines, mathematically, which line is the line of best fit? And the definition of that line of best fit is the line which passes very closely through most of the data points. Again, when I define line of best fit is the line that passes very closely through most of the data points. It's a very subjective answer. Very close. Now, what is definition of very close? So mathematically, how do I define this close? The close will be if the line of best fit can pass through all of these dots. In that case, my error will be 0. So mathematically, the line of best fit is the line which minimizes the error. However, we don't define the line of best fit as a line which minimizes the error. We define the line of best fit is the line which minimizes the total sum of squared error. Now, why we define it as total sum of squared error and not the line which minimizes the total sum of error? The reason why we define the line of best fit as the one which minimizes the total sum of squared error and not the total sum of error is, if I take a line which passes through average, in that case, the line of average will minimize the error. Let me show this with the very same simple example we did here. I would delete all of this. Now this is my input. This is my output. If I take average of the output, that is the mean. Mean is 17. And if I come up the line of best fit, in this case, if I make a line of best fit which is at 17, so let me just put y bar. Y bar is basically a representation. I'm not able to put a bar symbol, so I'm just writing bar. If this is what I draw as a line of best fit, okay, on this chart, let me add, or simply I'll just add y equal to 17. So basically what I'll have is a straight line which will be somewhere like this. Now just imagine you have created a line of best fit which is the y bar. Now if you define error in this case, let me move this graph slightly. Okay, the error in this case will be y minus y bar, 8 minus 17. This is my error here. Copy paste this, and if I define line of best fit is the one which minimizes the sum of error, total sum of error, total sum of error. Okay, if that is the definition, okay, what is my total sum of error in this case? My total sum of error in this case is 0. I have got line of best fit, but you can clearly see these predictions are way off. As such, we do not define line of best fit as one which minimizes the total sum of error. There is a definitely the reason, and we say line of best fit is the one which minimizes the total sum of squared error. So now let us understand what is total sum of squared error. Now let us try to understand what is sum of squared error. Of the many lines which we have here, for the time being, let us say one of the line is a line of best fit for the discussion's sake. Now what is sum of squared error? Here, this line is the red line. If it is the line of best fit, the red line indicates the predicted value for various values of x. What it means is if my x is 6000, this is the actual predicted value for that 6000. This is the not the actual predicted value, this is the predicted value. The actual value is, there is one actual value which is here for the corresponding not 6000, 60,000. Sorry, I read that 6000 as 60,000 as 6000. So monthly income is 60,000. There are two data points. One family having very less expense, monthly expense, probably they are not living the life lavishly despite having a good income, and the other family which is having a monthly expense of 50,000. It's possible you have people having very high incomes but still living life as a miser, possible. But what the line of best fit is saying, that given the income is 60,000, the expected expense should be here, that is around 25,000. If the income is say 80,000, then the line of best fit saying is we are expecting this much is the expense, around 30,000. So this is what the line of best fit is trying to say. Now whatever is the predicted value is represented by y cap. You have to understand notations. The notation y is used to represent actual. So if I represent this dot is y, this dot is y, because these are actual values. This dot is y, this dot is y. Okay, and if you are not able to understand why each dot is called y, because each dot, when I create a data table, I write it like this. Each value I write it like this, and when I get an equation, once I get an equation, and when I predict based on the equation the values, I typically give a column name to that set of values, and that we call it a y hat or y cap. That predicted values, we give a name to that column. So each dot is actually my y, and the predicted values is actually my y cap. Now I am focusing on one particular income, and that I am taking intentionally 60,000, because here I've got two data points, one here. For this income, my prediction is this should be the expense. However, there is a family which is actually not spending very lavishly despite good income. So this is my error in the estimate for this family. On the other hand, there is another household which is spending lavishly. They are living life to their fullest, and my prediction is somewhere here. So this is the gap, which is the error for that family, that household. So I can compute this error for each and every household. So error is the difference between the actual and the estimated value. And if you do a square, of this error term, that square is called a squared error. So here, if I do a square of this, like this, for each and every data point, I need to compute what is the squared error. And I take a summation of all of these squared error terms. I get sum of squared error. And a linear regression is trying to fit a line of best fit, which actually minimizes this sum of squared error. I have already explained why we are not minimizing total sum of error, and we are going to minimize sum of squared error, because the moment I do squared error, this positive error term, this is positive because y is higher, and this error term is negative. The square terms, negative square is positive. All my negative positive are becoming a positive number, and I'm trying to now minimize this sum of squared error. So this is, I hope all of you have understood this concept of best fit. Let us now get into simple linear regression. In this blog, you will see the codes. As I mentioned, we'll use a data file, and the data file is income expense data.csv. This file is available once you log in. So request you to download it, and having downloaded it, I'm going to show how to build a simple linear regression in Python. I have my Jupyter notebook already launched. These codes I'm going to run in Python. So here is the syntax. You can simply copy paste from here, import pandas as PD. As you know, that's a package that we are importing. And then we are saying read the file. This file should be in the folder from where you launch your Jupyter notebook. And if you want to do it in R, this is the syntax of R. And how to go about viewing it? You can view it using some head. So let me go to my Jupyter notebook. Here is my Jupyter notebook. Let me explain what is the content of this file. The file has got many columns. It has got monthly household income, monthly household expense, how many family members are there, whether the family is staying on an EMI or rented apartment, and if yes, what is the EMI or rent they are paying on a monthly basis, what is the annual income, the qualification of the highest qualified member in the family. So there may be 5 people in a family, and one is graduate, other is postgraduate. So the highest qualification in this case being postgraduate, that data is there, and how many earning members are there. So there are certain packages which I require for plots. I require matplotlib and seaborn. For regression, I require numpy and pandas to import the data. Step 1, I import these packages, shift enter. Having imported the packages, I am reading the data file. in my syntax, in my machine, the file is not stored in the same folder from where I launched Jupyter Notebook. As such, I have to change my working directory, or I may have to write the syntax something like this. Either of them is okay, but I prefer changing the working directory. So having imported the packages, I'll run this part of the syntax where I'm going to import the file, and if I do a head, I'll be able to see the data. If you do number of rows, you can find out how many rows are there. The number of rows in the file is 50. Okay. Okay, having imported the file, we have to run a simple linear regression. At this point of time, our objective is to learn simple linear regression. As I mentioned, we should always see scatter plot. How to make a scatter plot in Python? Simple syntax, SNS. SNS is what? My Seaborn. In SNS Seaborn package, I have got LM plot. LM is linear model plot. So I give X, the column which is X. I give Y, the column which is Y. From where this column is going to come? The column is going to come from this data. Where we got this data? We imported this data here, and we gave the name that to the data frame income inc underscore exp. So I am making a scatter plot. We have already seen this. Oh, error. I did not import the file. Income expense dot head. I did not execute that syntax. I explained it. Okay, I imported it, and we have got the output. Having created the scatter plot, we have to now get into the model development. For model development, I require stats model package. In stats model package, I require the stats model API. So I am importing this API. Not sure why this second part of the statement would be required, because here I am using stats model API.ols. So for now, I'll just comment this and run the syntax, control enter. My model has been built, and this model, I want to see the summary. Control enter. I get the summary. So here I have got my summary. Let us quickly compare this summary. What was the linear regression equation we got? What is the linear regression equation we have got? Not what was, what is. The intercept is 6319, and the beta coefficient, we have to focus on this part of the table where we have got this coefficients and the intercept and monthly household income. So here my intercept is 6319. My beta for income is 0.3008. What does this mean? If I have to write this as an equation, in that case, the equation will become monthly household expense is equal to intercept 6319 0.10. I'm writing till second decimal accuracy. Then 0.3008 multiplied by monthly household income. This is the linear regression equation, and this is how the expense is related to income. Now if I say a family has monthly income, I'm simply writing income is equal to 10,000. Using this equation, if I have to now estimate the expense, monthly expense, the expense will be equal to 6319 plus 0.3008 times 10,000. This is equal to 63 and 3008. So that will become 9327 something. 9327. That will be the expense of the household. There are many other statistics which I am getting here. One of the statistics is R squared. I'm getting adjusted R squared. Then F statistics, probability, p value for the F statistics. I'm getting the T stats. I'm getting the p value. Many such stats I'm getting in this output. Before I explain some of these, I would like you to execute these syntaxes. So here I'm just focusing those who are going to run this by watching the video. I'm focusing here on the syntax, slowly scrolling down, and then this is what you have to execute to get your output. Okay, let me now go back to my blog. Here you have all of these things which is available. The same codes which I have executed on Jupyter Notebook is shown here. Scatterplot. Now, sorry. So here you've got code for scatterplot in Python. You can toggle and you can get the corresponding code in R also. So you've got the code in R. There's a piece of code for correlation check, which I have not executed. Okay. If I have not executed, probably what I can do is copy this part of the code and let me just do here. The correlation check is just trying to show you how correlated X and Y are. Because I did not execute, what I'll do is just come here above from the blog. I've copied it. This numpy is already imported. So run this piece of syntax. It shows that there is a high degree of correlation between income and expense. The point is, a scatter plot gives you visual feel of the relationship between the dependent and independent. The visual feel that you are getting, if you want to quantify how strong is the linear relation between the x and y, you get the strength of linear relation is measured by correlation, and this is the correlation part. So here we can see there is a fairly high degree of correlation and it is 0.65. So very decently good correlation. Okay, having executed that, let's come back. To build the model, the codes here, again you have got code in regression in Python and R. You can toggle and this is the output. Now the most important thing, interpretation of the output. There are many statistics which you have got as output. The first and foremost is the p-value. Let us understand the hypothesis in linear regression. In linear regression, the hypothesis is, the null hypothesis is the y, that is the dependent variable, has no association or has no relation with the independent variable. I repeat, the null hypothesis is the y variable, the output variable, which you are trying to predict based on the input variable, the independent variable, does not have got any relation between them. If there is no relation between y and x, what it means is y is equal to a constant plus 0 times I'm putting a star mark here, x. Irrespective of what is the value of x, whatever value x takes, x multiplied 0 is 0, so y is equal to constant. This is what the null hypothesis is. The other way of stating, or the right way of stating the null hypothesis in linear regression is the beta coefficient of all independent variables is 0. That is null. Alternate hypothesis in linear regression is there is a relationship between the y and the x, between the dependent variable and the independent variable. If there is a relationship, which means the beta cannot be 0. The beta has to be some number which is non-zero. That some number can be a positive number or it can be a negative number, but it cannot be 0. That is the alternate hypothesis. Null hypothesis is the beta of independent variable is 0. Alternate hypothesis is beta of independent variable is non-zero. It is any number other than 0. If I am building a linear regression model, I want predictor variables by which I can predict the target phenomena. I want independent variables by which I can predict the dependent variable, which means my objective is alternate hypothesis should satisfy. And from hypothesis testing, we know if p-value is less than alpha, let us assume the alpha threshold to be 0.05. In hypothesis testing, we always assume a alpha threshold. If p-value is less than the alpha threshold, we reject null and accept alternate. This is what comes from hypothesis testing. In this case, the p-value of our independent variable is less than 0.05. Because it is less than 0.05, this is here. Here you can see the p-value, or probably I'll show it in my Jupyter notebook. Here you can see the p-value of the dependent variable is of the independent. The p-value of the independent variable, which is monthly household income, the p-value here is 0.000, which is less than 0.05, which means I can estimate expense based on income. So this is the first and foremost thing that you have to understand in linear regression. The hypothesis, I once again repeat the hypothesis, null hypothesis in linear regression is y that is dependent is not having relationship with the independent, that is beta estimate. What is the beta estimate here? 0.30. But the null hypothesis says beta estimate will be 0. Alternate hypothesis says that beta estimate will not be 0. How do you test a hypothesis? By checking the p-value. And if the p-value is less than a threshold alpha of 0.05, we reject null, accept alternate. And because here the p-value is 0.000, which is less than 0.05, we can say income can be used as a variable to predict expense. So first, interpretation of the output. Now let's move the second interpretation. Check the beta. What is the beta sign of your independent variable? Now, in our case, the beta estimate of monthly household income is 0.3008. It is a positive number. So the sign is positive. If the sign is positive, it means if the value of your independent variable increases, the corresponding value of dependent variable also should be higher. And from scatter plot, we observe that there is a positive correlation between dependent and independent variable. And that we also saw by running the correlation syntax. From correlation syntax, we got correlation 0.649. Correlation is positive. Visually, we see as income increases, expense increases, that shows positive correlation. If the correlation is positive, your beta has to be positive. In case your correlation is positive and your beta comes out to be negative, which means there is a problem in the equation. This is a second important thing which you should note while analyzing the summary output. The first thing is the p-value, the variable is significant or not. The second thing is what is the sign of the coefficient, and the sign of the coefficient has to be in line with the correlation. If correlation is positive, the beta has to be positive. If the correlation is negative, the beta has to be negative. If it is not, if it is vice versa, there is a problem with your equation. This is the second aspect. Now intercept is 6319. Beta is this. So what will be the linear equation? Linear equation is this. Monthly expense is 6319 plus 0.3008 times income. So this is the equation. And if the income of a household is 0, if the income of a household is 0, what does that mean? If the income of a household is 0, from this equation, we can see the expense of the household will be 6319. So what does intercept tell you? The intercept tells you if the all x are 0, if the x value becomes 0, y will be equal to intercept. And it is obvious, if there is a household, even if they don't have any earning, they still have a expense of livelihood, and that expense of livelihood based on the equation is rupees 6319. What also the equation says is, if you know what is the income is say non-zero, in that case, say let's say 10,000, in that case I can estimate the expense would be 9327. There's one more interpretation that we have to draw, and that is R squared. R squared is one of the most used model performance measure for linear regression. R squared is also called coefficient of determination. The R squared value in our equation is 0.421. The interpretation of this 0.421 is 42.1% of the variance in the dependent variable is explained by the independent variable. I repeat, the R squared number 0.421 means 42.1% of the variance in the dependent variable has been explained by the independent variable by the model. Almost 58% of the variance is not explained. A good model is one where R squared is 0.8 or above. In our case, we have got only 42.1. How is R squared computed? And there are other model performance measure which we have in this output, like adjusted R squared, the F statistics. I have not explained the calculations for them. Those calculations we will see in our upcoming blog, and those calculation I will explain in our upcoming session. So we need to see these concepts in our upcoming session. So we'll cover these concepts of R square, adjusted R square, multiple linear regression in our upcoming session. Till then, thank you. Bye bye. See you in the next session.